Alright folks, this is just a reminder to always be safe. So I have my jack stands obviously in place. Unfortunately, this jack I currently have can only have a total lift of about 21 inches, and therefore if you figure out manufacturer spec, it's probably only safe up to 20 inches, and that's when I really heard it cranking. That's because I'm kind of on a slope. If it's your first time jacking your vehicle, I highly suggest you find level ground. For those of you who are experienced, you know what to do. I just want to point out again the multiple safety points. Having the jack underneath, yes, that's a little bit too close, but again, my jack is a little bit too short and I know what I'm doing, so I have enough space to work with my tires. Make sure it is engaged and that it is taut, as in it is lifted and it is supporting a little bit of the weight, but the majority of the weight should be on your jack stands, okay? And make sure the lever is in the engaged position, meaning that you actually can crank it down to lift more. So if something does happen, i.e. the car falls, a friend nearby can help crank it back up. These are my Toyo Open Country AT2 tires. You can use them for winters because they're pretty good too, but they do not have the winter severe symbol on it, and therefore that is why I use the Goodyear DuraTrac tires as my dedicated winters. More on these later. Just so that you're aware, even though I'm using this guy here, he's really not that strong. It's just to help me do the job easier. These lug nuts are not on that tight. In fact, some of these are still a little bit loose to my hand, but by ever so little. And that's because I'm going to use a torque wrench to torque these down to specification. If you do not torque, not only, you can look up the reasons of why you should torque, but for me, I do warp my rotors quite a bit. Now, a lot of people will call me on that, saying you can't warp rotors nowadays, they're really good or whatever. Actually, it's quite the opposite. They're using softer materials and a lot of different things to help you with better braking power, but at the sacrifice of basically, I was going to say reliability, but more of, what do you call it? The lifespan. Yeah, there you go, lifespan. So, by torquing it down, you're going to help possibly save your rotors a little bit longer. That being said, I usually change my rotors every year to 2 years because I do it myself. It's cheap. Make sure you block up your tire. I gotta replace that, my bevel here, or bezel, or cover, whatever you want to call it. It cracked. No biggie. Light still works. The back is usually easier, but it feels heavier anyway. It's always a good workout working on your car. Okay, there we go. So for those of you who are wondering why I sit on the ground and use my feet, well, guess what? These are really heavy tires. the best way to position yourself, so you can rotate, put it on the lug nuts as you saw me do. And you can also give it a little bit of lift when you're putting it on. So right now, as you notice, there's actually a small pattern you're supposed to follow, and that's to help make sure you put the tire on evenly. I know that sounds weird, but let me explain in just a few seconds here. So, as you notice, the reason why I still had to support it is because gravity, tire's gonna sit like this. So, if you have your, let's say, lug nut with a hole on the top lug nuts, that wheel's resting right on the top. Your bottom lug nuts are also gonna be resting just on the top. So your offset is down a little bit. But that's why by the time you put them all in, it'll reset it to the right position. So I give it a small little boost while I'm doing that. And then make sure you do it in the start configuration, which is how you ensure you get just that. These lock nuts are great. Sometimes a pain in the butt. Alright, done. Alright, so this is my torque wrench. It's not a very expensive one. I don't remember how much I paid for it because I bought it a long time ago. And for my tires, it's either 100 pounds per foot or 140 Newton meters. So let me bring that in closer. It's going to be hard to show because it's reflective, but in short, there's scales on their torque wrench, and you just match it up to get what you want. And what will happen is you'll hear a nice clicking sound. I figured I'll do one nut where you can hear what I mean by the clicking of the torque wrench. There you go. And it's tight enough. Don't push any harder because you're going to break your torque wrench, and you don't need to because it's torque to specification to what you set. Alright? There you go. Done. Just one click. One click.